In September 2025, the Caribbean's calm was shattered by a sudden explosion off Venezuela's coast. A U.S. military strike obliterated a vessel, instantly drawing global attention and igniting a new crisis between Washington and Caracas. The U.S. claimed the target was linked to the Tren de Aragua gang, a notorious criminal network spreading violence across South America. 11 people were killed, their identities unclear, fueling debate and outrage. For Venezuela, this was a violation of sovereignty, an act of war. Caracas condemned the strike, calling it a provocation meant to destabilize the nation. The U.S. framed it as a necessary blow against transnational crime, threatening regional stability. The world watched as both sides dug in, each defending their actions and narratives. This wasn't an isolated event, it was the latest escalation in years of sanctions, accusations, and diplomatic breakdowns. Now, the conflict had moved from words and economics to open military action. The strike sent a powerful message. The U.S. might now favor direct intervention over diplomacy. The stakes for Latin America's future stability had never been higher. The region, once known for its beaches and culture, had become the epicenter of a geopolitical showdown. The blast's shockwaves reached far beyond the Caribbean, raising fears of a wider conflict. The world held its breath, uncertain what would come next. The crisis had only just begun. In the aftermath, the U.S. doubled down, launching a major military buildup across the Caribbean. F-35 fighter jets arrived in Puerto Rico, their presence a clear warning to Venezuela and a show of strength to the world. The U.S. Navy increased patrols, deploying more warships to monitor vital sea lanes and assert dominance. Officially, these were freedom of navigation and counter-narcotics missions, but the timing left little doubt. This was strategic pressure. The skies and seas filled with American hardware, a constant reminder of the region's volatility. The buildup reassured U.S. allies but also heightened the risk of miscalculation. For Venezuela, it was a direct threat. For the U.S., a message of resolve. The proximity of rival forces created a powder keg. One mistake could spark a larger conflict. The Pentagon's moves were calculated, but the consequences were unpredictable. The region braced for what might come next. Tensions soared as both sides prepared for any scenario. The military chessboard was set. The world watched, anxious and uncertain. Venezuela answered the U.S. buildup with its own show of force. President Maduro mobilized 25,000 troops, deploying them to borders and the Caribbean coast. Armored vehicles and air defenses rolled out, transforming frontier regions into militarized zones. Naval patrols intensified and coastal batteries stood ready. Officially, the move targeted crime, but its true aim was unmistakable: deterrence. The government rallied national unity, projecting strength against foreign aggression. Externally, it warned the U.S. that any incursion would be met with fierce resistance. The standoff grew more dangerous, with both sides on high alert. Across Latin America, alarm grew as the crisis escalated. Brazilian President Lula da Silva warned that U.S. military moves threatened regional stability and could trigger an arms race. Many nations called for restraint, wary of foreign intervention and the risk of conflict spilling across borders. CELAC convened emergency talks, seeking a diplomatic solution. The region's leaders urged dialogue, fearing a humanitarian and economic disaster. The crisis exposed deep mistrust of U.S. intentions and a strong desire for regional autonomy. The legality of the U.S. strike was hotly debated. Critics argued it violated international law, targeting a vessel without clear, imminent threat or due process. The U.S. cited self-defense against criminal networks, but many legal experts disagreed. The action blurred lines between counterterrorism and sovereignty, setting a troubling precedent. If one nation can strike unilaterally, what stops others from doing the same? The move risked eroding international norms meant to prevent conflict. The world questioned whether power now trumped law. As of September 10, 2025, the Caribbean teeters on the brink. U.S. and Venezuelan forces face off, each side refusing to back down. Regional leaders led by Brazil push for de-escalation and dialogue. Back-channel talks and third-party mediation offer a slim hope for peace. A compromise could see the U.S. scale back its presence if Venezuela cracks down on criminal groups. But mistrust runs deep, and the risk of escalation remains real. One misstep could ignite a wider war with devastating consequences. The fate of millions hangs in the balance. Will diplomacy prevail, or will the region slide into conflict? The world waits, hoping for wisdom over war.